Guys, welcome again to this channel. In this video, I will start the implementation of REST APIs for to-do-list app. So first I will create the database and then I will create the APIs. So let's start. So first I will open the MySQL workbench in order to get the database. So let's open. Okay, so now we will connect to local instance. So here you can see that before executing any query, there are only two databases, sys and test here. So now we will create a new database to do for our to-do list app. So let's create that. Copy this query and paste it here. Run all the queries. Okay, so now I will refresh this schema tab. So you can see that new database to do is created, and these are two tables, task and users, that are created inside this database. And in users we can see these are the columns of users table. Similarly, we can see these are the columns of tasks table. So there is one more way we can see the structure of a table. So we can also see the structure of a table by using a describe command. Describe users. So this will return us the structure of users table. So you can see here, this is the structure of users table, and similarly you can also see the structure of the task table. So that's it, we have created the database. Now we will start implementing the APIs. Okay, so let's start the implementation for the REST APIs. So first let's create a folder, to do list. Then we will initialize this folder with package.json file. So npm init -y. So this command will initialize this to-do list folder with package.json file. So package.json file will basically keep track of all the dependencies and the dev dependencies that we are going to use throughout the project. So let's open this in the VS Code editor. So here we can see this is the package.json file. So let's provide a simple description: REST APIs for to-do list app. Save it. Now we are going to install some dependencies that we will use in this project. So let's open up the integrated terminal, and so we will install Express, then we will install mysql, jsonwebtoken, and bcrypt.env, and last one will be express validator. Okay, so Express is a Node.js framework that provides very good features for building web and mobile applications. And the MySQL node package will be used in order to communicate with the MySQL database. And in order to generate and verify the JWT tokens, we will use this JSON Web Token node package. Then bcrypt is a JavaScript library that help us hashing the passwords, and also it will help us comparing the password, so we can verify if the provided password is correct or not. So for that authentication purpose we will use this pcrypt package. The next is .env. So .env package is used to load environment variables from the .env files. So in .env files we can provide many kind of credentials like database credentials or some third-party API credentials. So we can specify those credential inside the .env files, and then with the help of this .env package we can uh, load those variables into the environment variables so that we can use them throughout the application. And the last package is express validator. So this package will be used in order to validate and sanitize the request bodies and the request headers. So now let's install one more dev dependency, nodemon. So nodemon is a node.js utility that will basically watch the source code, and whenever we will edit some file, then it will automatically restart the server. Okay, so we have installed all the dependencies and dev dependencies that we will use inside this project. So now let's start creating some more files. So but before that, let's create a start script in order to start the server. Start nodemon app.js, save it. Now this is the entry file. So we have not created app.js yet, so first of all let's create this. Clear the terminal and touch app.js. Okay, so before writing any code, first of all let's create the folder structure that we are going to use. So in the root folder to-do list, first I will create one folder, API, and inside the API folder I will create two more folders, config and modules. Inside the modules I will create two more folders, users and to-dos, and in users I will create three files, users dot controllers dot js, then users dot route dot js, and the last file will be users dot service dot js. Similarly, in the to-dos module we will create three files, to-dos dot route dot js, to-dos dot service dot js, to-dos dot controller dot js. Okay, now in the config folder I will create one file for making a connection with the MySQL database. So that will be db.js. Then I will create one folder named middlewares here. So we will create our middlewares inside this folder. So that will be one middleware for authorization, authorization.js. So inside this authorization.js we will write a middleware in order to verify the JWT tokens. So, and the second middleware will be validator.js. So this will be used for validating the request bodies and request headers. And the last file we will create inside the API folder will be index.route.js. So in this index.route.js we will specify all the routes at one place. Okay, so now let me create one more file, touch.env, in the root to-do list folder. So inside this, first I will specify all our database credentials. So first will be db underscore name. So in my case it is to do. Then second one will be db underscore host, that will be local host. Third one will be db underscore user, that will be root in my case. And the last one is db underscore password, so that is mail underscore 123. Now let's save this file, and now let's create a simple express server. So first we will import express module, express. Now we will initialize the express app. So const app equals to express. So our app is initialized. Now let's put some middlewares here. So first one will be app.use express.json, and second one will be app.use express.url encoded with the configuration object extended option will be true. Okay, so this first middleware will be used in order to parse the request bodies into the JSON object, and the second middleware will be used to parse the URL encoded bodies into the JSON object. Then we will define one request handler for route slash. So first parameter is route, and the second one will be the handler. So inside this handler there will be two parameters, request object and the response object. And the body, in the body of handler we are just returning hello world. Hello world. Okay, and finally we will write the code to start the server. So the listen function is basically will be used to create the HTTP server, and the first parameter will be the port number. So process dot env dot port, and the second one will be the callback. So console.log server is running on port process.env.port. Save it, and I need to also declare this port variable inside the env file. So port will be 3000. Save it, and now let's start our server. So npm run start. Okay, so it says that server is running on port undefined. Okay, so because here because we have not used the .env package, so that's why this is unable to find this variable port on the process.env object. So let's require .env here .env, and it provides one function config. Save it. Now it's okay. It says now server is running on port 3000. Okay, so let's open up the browser, and here we can specify. So this is the Postman extension for Google Chrome, and here we will specify the URL http localhost 3000 send, and here you can see this is the response returned by our server, hello world. Okay, so this code is okay. Now first of all we will write the code for making a connection with the MySQL database. So let's first of all require MySQL equals to require MySQL. Now create a connection, pool equals to MySQL dot create pool. So it accepts a configuration object, and inside that I will just provide the necessary options. So first one will be the host. So in our case it will be process.env dot db underscore host, and the next one will be user, and it will be db underscore user. Next one will be password, and the last one will be database, db underscore name. And one more option I will provide, that is connection limit. So we will keep it 10. So you can also provide more options here, and in order to provide more options, you can look at the documentation of this MySQL node package. Okay, so now because this MySQL package does not return promise, and we want to use the promise, so that's why we are going to promisifying the response of this MySQL package. So in order to promisifying this the response of MySQL package, we will use a function provided by util node package. So first of all require util package require util. So we are going to promisifying the pool.query function here. Pool.query equals to util dot promisify pool.query. So now whenever we will call the pool.query function, it will return us a promise. Okay, now just export this pool, save this file. So our database connection code is ready. Now let's import this inside our app.js file. So here, not here, here I will import this db equals to require API, then config, then db. So and then we can set this db connection object on the app so that we can access this throughout the application. So in order to set this db connection object on the app uh, object, we need to use the app.set function. So setting database connection object on app. So app.set, and it will accept two parameters. First parameter will be the key, we will keep it db, and the second one will be the value, so it is the db object. Okay, now we will create the API endpoints for users module first. So let's start. So first I will create this API router object in index.route.js file. So let's create a simple router object. Require express dot router, and now I'm just exporting this. Exports equals to router. Save this file and import this in the app.js. So let's import this const API router equals to require API slash index route, and here we will put app.use. All the requests that are coming on slash API, they will be forwarded to API router. Save it. Now we will start creating the routes for our users module. So let's start. In user route, I will also create one router object here. So let's copy this and paste it here. Save this, and inside the index route we will import this user router require modules users user route. Okay, so here we will use router dot use all the requests that are coming on API slash user route. We will forward them to the user router. Okay, save this. And now we have set up routes for index route and also for user module. Okay, so let's start building our first service for registering a user. So service will be register user service. So it will accept two parameters. First will be database connection object and second will be user object, and return db dot query. First parameter will be create user query, and the second parameter will be the options array. So first we need to create that options array. Let params equals to object dot keys user. So because this user, it is a object, so that's why we are creating that into the array. So this object dot keys will return us an array of keys that are present inside this user object. So the keys that are present inside the user object are like user first name, user surname, user email, and user password. And then we are running map function on this array. Callback will be key and we will return user key. So here this whole thing will return us an array of the values that are present inside this users object. So now we will pass this params array here, and now we will export this service module dot exports equals to register user service. Save it. So our first service, register user service, is completed. Now we will create the controller for register user, and okay, so first we will import the our register user service equals to require and we will put register user service. Okay, so now I will define our first controller, register user controller, and here there will be two parameters. First will be request object, second will be response object, and then I will put try catch here, and it will be async function because we are going to use await in order to resolve the promises that are returned by our register users service. Okay, so first we will uh, extract the database connection object from app object. So let db equals to request dot app dot get, and the key is db. Okay, now I will extract first name comma last name comma email comma password from request dot body. Okay, so next thing we will do is we will hash the password that is uh, present in the request.body. So we will not store that password in the same format in the database, or rather than we will hash that password, and then we will store that hashed password into the database. So for that we will need bcrypt node package. So let's import that. Const bcrypt equals to require bcrypt. So basically I need two functions from this package, so I will directly extract those two functions. First function is hash and the second function is compare. Okay, so hashing the password, let hashed password, it will be await hash, and it will accept two parameters. First will be the password and second will be the salt. So we'll provide 10. So now inside the hashed password we will get our hashed password. So this is the asynchronous function provided by the bcrypt library, and this bcrypt package also provides synchronous function for hashing the password. But if you look at the documentation of this node package, then you can see that they recommend that in the production environment we should use this asynchronous function, because this asynchronous function doesn't block the main thread, while the synchronous function block the main thread. So that's why we should use the asynchronous function. And now I will just overwrite this password variable with the hashed password, and now I will call my register user service. So let response equals to await register user service, and we'll pass first option as database connection object, and second will be the object with the user first name. It will be the first name, and then user surname, it will be last name, then user email, it will be email, and the last will be user password, and that will be password. Okay, now we will check if our response is successful. So if the user is created successfully in the database, then this response will be a object, and inside that object we can find one key that will be insert id. So we can apply a check on that response dot insert id. If that is present, then it means that our user is created successfully in the database. Then we will return rest dot status 200, and then JSON object with the property success true, and message will be uh, user sign up successfully. Otherwise, we will return status as 500, and this flag will be false, and here we will just return something went wrong, and same message we will also return from the catch block. Then our register user controller, I think it is completed. So now we will export it. Module dot exports equals to copy it, then paste it here, save this file. Now let me again look this code. Okay, response. Okay, I have misspelled this. So rest dot this, then rest dot and rest dot. Okay, so I think I need to remove this. Okay, I think now our code is completed for controller. So save it. Now I need to define one route for registering a user in the user dot route.js. Okay, so let's define that. First of all, I will import our controller here, equals to require and user controller register user controller, and then we will define a route here. So router dot route, and if the request comes for register and the method, if the method is post, then we will provide this controller here. Okay, save it, and then now we are going to check this. So let's go to the postman here. So here I will put user register. Okay, this is the API endpoint and the method is post. In the body I will pass first name, let's say Rahul, then last name will be Kumar, third parameter will be email, it will be rk@yopmail.com, and the last parameter will be password test 123. Okay, hit this API and it says 200. Let's see the body. Okay, so it says that user sign up successfully. So uh, we will check the database whether the user is created or not. Okay, so here we can see that the user is created. Now we will create our next API, and that is API to fetch all users. So first of all, let's create the service for uh, getting all users API. So I will go to user.service file, and our next service will be get users service. It will take only one parameter, that is database connection object, and return db.query, and query will be get users. Okay, now we will export this service, save it. Now we will create the controller for this service. Get users controller, and request response try catch. This will be a sync. Now here, first of all, I will just copy paste this line. So then I will just call our service get user service. First of all, I will import it. So get user service, and then I will call here await get user service with db as the parameter. Okay, then on the next line I will check that if response dot length is greater than 0, then return res dot json, and it will be first parameter will be success true, and the second property will be data, and that will be the response that we have got from the get user service. Okay, in the else part I will just return this something went wrong, so paste it here, also paste it in the catch block, and then export this controller. Now we need to create a route for this API. So inside users.route I will write router.route. This will be the endpoint, and then because this API will use get method, so that's why we are using .get here, and first of all I will import get users controller, and then I will pass this get users controller as a callback into the get method. Save it, and then let's check this API. So here we can check. Okay, so here you can see that it is returning us the list of users that we have created till now. Okay, so till now we have created two APIs, one API for registering a user and one for fetching all users. So let's move to the next API, which is the API for logging a user. So first of all, let's create a service for that. So API will be get user by email service. So we are creating this service. It will fetch us a user by email. So first parameter will be the database connection object, and the second parameter will be email. So return db dot query sql queries dot get user by email, and the second parameter will be email. Okay, we will create another service, get user by id. So it will accept user id, and the query will be this get user by id. Okay, now let's export all of these services. Get user service, get user by email service, get user by id service. Okay, save it. Now we will create the controller for login API. So login user controller db equals to request dot app dot get db. Now first I will extract email and password from request body. Then we will check whether or not a user with this provided email exists in our database. So let's check that. So for that we will need get user by email service. So first we will okay, so it is already, we have imported this. Now so let's call that service fetched user, and fetched user equals to await get user by email service. First parameter will be db, second parameter will be email. Now we will check that if fetched user dot length equals to 0, it means that if we have not fetched any user with this email from our database, then it means that uh, there is no user in our database present with this email. So we will return res.json. Success will be false and message will be user don't exist. Else, if the user exists, so this is for if user don't exists. Now this else case is when user exists. So now we have checked that uh, a user with the provided email exists in our database. So now next we will check whether the provided password is correct or not. So for that we will use the compare function provided by bcrypt library. So let is password valid equals to await compare. It will accept two parameters. First will be the password and second will be the password that we have fetched from the database. So it is user underscore password. Okay, so if is password is false, it means that the provided password is not correct. So we will return sorry, here success should be true and here success should be false. So here we will send a message that invalid email or password. But if the password matches, then we will create a JWT token here. So let JWT token. So method to create a JWT token is that we need to use the sign function provided by the JSON uh, npm package. So let's import JSON so const require JSON and I will require sign function here. So we will use that here sign. So it will accept first parameter will be the payload. So in the payload we will store email, user email. So fetched user dot user email and the user ID. So it will be user ID. So fetched user 0 dot user ID. Okay, and the next parameter will be a key. So first of all, let's make a key in .env file. So I will make a simple key jwt underscore key, and its value will be anything like I'm making it abc123. Save this. Then here I will pass process dot env dot jwt underscore key. Okay, so now we will return the response. So here in the message we will return that user logged in successfully, and access token will be this JWT token. So here we will pass error message, status will be 500, success will be false, and this will be something went wrong. Okay, now I will save this file, and we need to export this controller, and save this. Now I will again create another route for this login API. So let's create it. So it will be slash login, and it will be method will be post. So first let's import login controller, then here we will pass login user controller, and I think it's done. So let's test this. So here localhost API slash user slash login, method will be post, and in the body we need to provide two things. First will be email, that is rk@yopmail.com, and the second is password, that is test123. So now let's check. Okay, so it says user logged in successfully, and we also got the access token. So now our login API also completed, and now before creating next API, first I will create the authorization middleware that we are going to use in order to verify the token which is coming in the request header. So the middleware will verify whether or not the passed token is correct or not. So let's create that authorization middleware first. So we will go to the authorization. Okay, so let's open up the terminal and we will go to the authorization file, and here first of all I will uh, import JSON web token npm package. JSON web token. So from this package we are going to use one method, that is verify, to verify the JWT token. Next I will write a function authorization request response, and next try catch. So here first of all I will extract JWT token from the request header. So JWT token equals to request dot header authorization. Then I will token. Then I will split this extracted part by space, and then we our first part will be the text bearer and the second part will be the actual token. So that's why we are splitting it from the space, and then we are getting the second part of the splitted array. Okay, so we have extracted the token. Now we will verify it. So let token payload equals to verify. First parameter will be the token and the second parameter will be key. So process dot env dot jwt key. So if we have extracted token payload, it means that the token is valid. So we first of all we will set this token payload into the request object. So request dot app dot set user comma token payload, and we will return next. So what this next will do, this will just pass the request object to the next middleware that is present in the middleware stack. Okay, in the else part we will just return from here a error object. So res.json success false, success false, and the message will be authorization failed. So similar kind of message we will send here, just one difference, something went wrong. Okay, so I think that this middleware is completed. Now we can test it. So first I will apply this middleware for the get users API. So let's check. So we will go to user route. This is our get users API. So here I will import our middleware equals to require config middlewares and authorization and authorization. So first let's check the API without applying the middleware first. So go to Postman. Here this is our get API. Let's hit it. Okay, so we are getting this result. So uh, I have not, you can see in the headers, I have not sent any token yet. So this API is still working. But if I apply the authorization middleware here, then without sending the token, our API should not work. So let's test this first. So I will apply this middleware here, authorization, save it, and let's test. So it says that something went wrong because in the authorization middleware, uh, here it tries to get the authorization token from the header, but it doesn't find any authorization token in the header, so that's why it directly jumps into the catch part and it returns that something went wrong. So let me apply one more safety check here, that if it doesn't find any, so we need to apply it here. If request dot header authorization, if this is not present, then we will just return that token is not found, access token is not found. Save it again, check it. Okay, so it says now that access token is not found. So now we will send the token, we will copy the token from here, copy it, and now we will send this with the API request. So it will be like authorization, sorry, authorization will be the key and the value will be bearer and the token. Okay, so now let's hit the API, and here you can see that now it successfully returns the response. Okay, so we have completed authorization part also. So now next we will move to our next API, that is update user API. So first of all, let's create the service for update user API. Update user service. First parameter will be DB, second parameter will be user object, and first we will construct the params array from the user object, and then return db.query sql queries dot update user comma params. Then export this service. Oh, sorry. Update user service. Save it. Now we will create the controller for this update user API. So const update user controller request response. Sorry, what is happening? Try catch oh, and then we will extract the db object from request dot app dot get db. Next I will use our update user service. So first let's import it. Update user service. Async let. So first we will extract the first name and last name that are present in the request body. So first name and last name from request dot body. Then I will call our service response equal to await update user service db comma user object, and first property will be first name, second property will be last name, and the last property will be user ID. So let's get the user ID. So let user equals to request dot app dot get user. So here we are extracting user from this request object that we have set in the authorization middleware here. uh, Here, so the property user we have set it here. We are going to use this property inside our controllers, so that's why we are extracting this user property here. So in this user property we will get two things. First is user email and the second is user ID. So let's uh, pass the user ID here, user dot user ID. Okay, then we need to pass like user underscore ID. Okay, then I will apply a check that if response successful, then we will return a message like res.json success true, and the message will be user updated successfully. And in the else part, we will send success false, and here something went wrong. Copy it, paste it here also, and now export this controller. Now we will quickly create the route for our new API. So it will be update method will be put, and update user controller, and here we will pass update user controller, save it. Now we will test this API endpoint. Okay, so let's create new tab, localhost user slash update post, and I think I have forgot one thing, that is I also need to put authorization middleware here. So authorization, okay, save it. Sorry. Now in the body I will send two things. First is first name, and let's say Rahul test, and last name will Kumar 1. And in the authorization part I need to sorry, in the header part I need to send header. So authorization bearer, and the token will be this one. Oh, sorry, think it is not copied correctly. Copy it, paste it here, send. Okay, it says error. Okay, so because we have passed wrong method, so method is put. So here we can see the messages user updated successfully. In order to verify whether or not the user is updated, let's check it in the get API. So here we can see that the first name is updated properly and the last name is also updated. Okay, so our update API is also completed. Now we have left only one API, that is delete API. So let's quickly complete that also. Const delete user service. So first parameter db, then second parameter will be user id, return db dot query SQL queries dot delete user comma user id. Okay, so export this service, and then we will create the controller. So first I will export this import this service, delete, then const delete user controller request response try catch async let db equals to request dot app dot get db, then let user equals to not user, uh, let user id equals to uh, request dot body, and we will destructure this, then if sorry let response equals to await delete user service db comma user id, then we will check that response return rest.json success will be true, and the message will be user deleted successfully. Okay, in the else part something went wrong, and here false. Copy paste same message from the catch block, and now copy this and export it, save this file. So now we will create one route for delete, so it will be delete, here method will be delete, and delete controller, pass it here, save this. Okay, so now uh yeah, so we also need uh id in the request parameter. So first of all, let's check it. So user so before hitting the delete API, let me create one more user. So Here is our create API. So this is our create API, register API. So let's register one more user here. One last name will be one, and this will be our key1, and password will be test1234. Okay, now let's create one more user. Okay, it says user is created. We can also verify this by getting this, so we can see that now in the database there are two users. So I want to delete, let's say, this user I with id 2. So here localhost user slash delete, and method will be delete. In the body I will send user id, and id will be 2. Okay, so let's also, we need to also send authorization token. So authorization bearer, and we will copy the token from here, paste it here, and it says that user deleted successfully. So we can verify this from here. Previously there are two users, and if I again fetch this request, and we can see that now there is only one user. Okay, so I have completed all the APIs of user module. However, I have not covered the request parameter validation part in this video. So in my next video I will cover two parts. First, I will cover the validation of request parameters, and so for validation I will create a middleware for validating the request parameters, and the second part I will create all the APIs for the to-dos module. So thank you very much for watching this video.